Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be drafting this beautiful top. You have seen it on the thumbnail. So today we are not going to be using pattern. We are drafting directly on our fabric. We are going to be using freehand. So the first line I drew here is my starting point line, and the top length is 28. But if you notice, the front of the top is shorter than the back, but we are going to draft the two the same way, the same length. Later we are going to trim the front so that it's going to be shorter than the back. So next thing I want to mark is my shoulder line. My shoulder is 16.5. So 16.5 divided by 2 will give me 8.25. So I'm going to mark 8.25 here. Then I'm going to mark my chest line. My chest line, we have a formula for calculating that, is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So if I do 41 divided by 6 plus 1.5, I'm going to get 8.3. So I'm going to mark 8.3. 8.3. The 8.3 you are marking, you're going to mark it, is going to be below your shoulder slant. So my shoulder slant for the back is 1 inch. So this 8.3, I'm going to just add 1 to it. So it's going to give me 9.3. If you have been watching my basic bodies, you will understand this perfectly. So I'm going to mark 9.3. 9.3. 9.3. So I'll draw this across. Okay, so this is my chest line. This line is my chest line. So on this my chest line, I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement there too. My shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'm going to mark it there. Then I'll draw it. Okay. So for us to draw our armhole, let's put our neckline. Basic neckline is 3 by 3, but for this tutorial I'm not going to use 3 by 3. I'm going to use 4 inches because the neck is a bit wide. So I'm going to use 4 inches by 4 inches. So I'll connect the lines. So I'm going to slant the shoulder. We usually slant our shoulder by 1.5 in front. So I'm going to slant it by 1.5. And I'll connect it. I'm going to curve my arm, I'm going to go up by 3 inches. Then I'll go in by 0.5 inch. Then I'll connect the lines. First with the straight line, then I'll enter with my curve. Then I'm going to mark my bust measurement. My bust measurement is 41. But see what I'm going to do, I want to add ease to it. So the first thing I'll do is that I'll divide my bust first into 2. If I divide 41 into 2, I'm going to get 20.5. So this 20.5, I'm going to add 2 inches to it. If I add 2 inches to it, I'm going to get 22.5. So it is this 22. This 2 inches I added to it is for ease because this is a free top. So I'm going to add 2 inches to it. I'll get 22.5. So this 22.5, that's when I'll now divide again by 2. I'll now get 11.25. So I'm going to mark 11.25 here. And I'm going to add 1.5 inch for allowance, sewing allowance. So after getting this, I will not mark my waist, I will not mark my hip because it's a free top. I'm just going to draw a slant line because we want it to be a very free top. So that is it. We are pretty much done. So what I'm going to do, because I'm not drafting on paper, I'm going to add all my allowances now. Okay guys, so I've added all the allowances. You see, I added half inch to the shoulder, I added half inch to the armhole, I added half inch to the neckline. So this down part, we don't want to leave it straight. All you need to do is just to curve it. Just curve it. Just go up by 1.5 or 2 inches. Just go up by 2 inches, then give it a nice curve down here. That's all. So we'll cut it out now. We're supposed to use this one to cut the back, but no, because our basic bodice for front and back is usually different. Because the armhole is usually different. Even the shoulder slant for the back is going to be slanted with 1 inch instead of 1.5. That's why we're not going to use this to cut the back. So I'll fold again, then we'll cut the back because of this little alteration. But the body is going to be the same thing, but this upper part is going to be different. So we can use it to cut this body, or let's just mark again. It won't take us anything to mark again. Okay, so the first one, the length we used was 28, length 28. So I'm going to mark 28 again. (16.5). So 16.5 divided by 2 is 8.25. So I'm going to mark 8.25, and here too I'm going to mark 8.25. We are pretty much marking the same thing, but just little adjustments to the back. So the neckline for the back, the width we used for the front was 4 inches. The depth for the back is going to be just 1 inch, because we want the back to be high neck. So we're going to use just 1 inch for the back. I just want to pin it down. Okay, so now the shoulder slant for the back is going to be 1 inch. 1 inch. So let's just connect these lines. Good. So we are done with that. So to curve the armhole for the back, what you do, you just get everything you have here, then you share it into 2. You get the midpoint. This is the midpoint. Then you go in by ½ inch. You can see that this one is quite different from what we did at the front. That's why we cannot place the front to cut it. So I'll connect the lines. Okay, then I'll mark my bust measurement, the same thing that we marked at the back. We got 11.25, so I'm going to mark 11.25, and I'm going to add 1.5 inch allowance, just like the front. And I'm just going to connect it. I want to measure what I use down here so that it will be the same thing. So next we want to do is just to add allowance, just like we added at the front. Okay guys, so I've added all the allowances. I'll start cutting now. I'll start with the neckline. Okay guys, so we are done cutting. So this is the front and this is the back. There's no zip allowance at the back because there's not going to be zip. So it's as simple as this. So we'll join them together by the shoulder. We'll bring them together like so. Then I'll go ahead to join them by the shoulder. If you want, you can put a slit at the back. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put just a little slit at the back so that we'll put a button so that it can pass through her head. Though the neck is wide enough, but let's just put a button at the back. So I'll join the shoulder and I'll pipe the neck. I'll show you how to pipe the neck now. Okay guys, for the sleeve, I drafted a basic sleeve. I have a tutorial on how to draft this basic sleeve. I'll drop the link in the description box. So I've transferred it to fabric. So there's a design on the hand that we want to achieve. So what I'll do is I'll just make a curve. The length of the sleeve that we're working with is 11 inches. It's 11 inches. So I'll just go up by, let's say, 3.5 inches. I'll go up by 3.5 inches. Then I'll just make a curve here, just a little curve. I'll go in by half here. Then I'll just make a curve here. Then I'll cut it out. I'll do the same thing for the second part. Then I'll use my fabric to cut bias. I'll cut bias strip with my fabric. I've already cut it. The width of this bias strip is 1.5. You see, it is 1.5. So I'll use the bias strip to pipe this place. I'll do it for the second part too. So you see it. So I'll use my bias strip to sew this part. I want the back to have loop. I want it to have button at the back. So I'm going to open the center back a little, maybe like up to 7 inches or 5 inches. I'm going to open it like up to 5 inches. 4 inches will do too. So I'm going to open by 4 inches. The center back, I'm just going to slit it. So I've slit it open. So I'm going to use the bias strip that I cut. I'm going to use it to turn here first. After turning here, then I'll join it by the shoulder. Let me turn it first. Okay guys, I've joined it by the shoulders, and I've also sewed the opening that I made on the back. I've sewn it, and I put a button loop there too. You see it, so that I can fix my button. I just place it in, then use my bias to turn this place, and I joined it by the shoulders. So the next thing I want to do is to use my bias to turn the neck. You know, the neck is still rough, so I'm going to use my bias to turn the neck. I've used my bias to turn the neckline. You can see the neckline is neatly finished now. You can see everything is looking beautiful now. So what we'll do next is to join the sides. So I'll just put them together like this. This is the back. I'll put them together. Then I'll impute my measurements. I'll put in my bust measurements. You know, it's a free top, so I'm not putting my waist measurements. So I'll just put in my bust measurement, impute. From the bust measurement, I'm just going to take it down like that. So that's what I'm going to do. After doing that, after joining the side, then I'll move to the sleeve. So you see this design that we did on the sleeve, this part. So I'm going to use my bias to turn this place now. Okay guys, see what I've done. I've used my bias to turn this. When I say bias, I use the fabric to cut bias. Okay, let me show you how to cut bias. If you want to use your fabric to cut bias, all you need to do is to place your fabric like this, then get where is, don't cut it straight. If you cut it straight, it will not balance when you are using it. It will not be a bias. You place your fabric in a bias form, not straight. You can see like this. When I place it like this, you can see it's stretchy. I hope you can see it's stretchy. But let me show you. See this part that is straight. See, you can see it's not stretching. But if I place it like this, it's stretchy. So this is how you cut into bias. So you just mark like this. The width that I mark is 1.5. That's what I use as the bias. So just cut in a bias form like this. Cut a strip. The width should be 1.5. That is what will become your bias. or if you don't want to use your fabric to do bias, you can use the ready-made bias. So I use the fabric as my bias, so that's what I use in turning all the parts that I've been turning since. So now the next thing I'll do is I'll get a piece of fabric. We want to turn this hand. We want this style to have a tie here, so this strip is going to go round and we are going to tie it here. So what I did is I got a fabric. The width of this fabric is 5 inches. So I folded half here, I folded half here, so it's remaining 4 inches, and I folded it again. That means it's remaining 2 inches. So this place like this now is 2 inches. So what I will do is I'll shape the sleeve first. I'll shape it with 8.3. So I'm going to mark 8.3 here, and around sleeve is 6.5. So I'm going to mark 6.5 here. So I'll connect the lines and I'll go to my sewing machine and sew it down. I'll do the same thing for the other one. Then I'll come back to show you how we are going to use this strip to turn it. So I've shaped the sleeve. See, I've shaped the sleeve now. So what I'll do next is to just turn it to the right side. So this is the opening at the center. This is the opening here. So this strip that I made, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the midpoint of this strip, the midpoint. Then I'll put the midpoint, I'll start sewing from the midpoint to the joining, the sleeve joining where I shaped. So I'll match it, the middle here, I'll match it, then I'll start sewing. So you see, I'll sew from here, then when I get here, the remaining strip that will remain, I'll just close it up. So that will be what will be tying. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. After sewing from here to this point, then I'll sew this part again to this point, then I'll close the opening, this opening here, I'll close it, and I'll close the edge too. So this place will now be the tying. After we get to this end, this opening part, the remaining rope will now be the one that will be tying. I hope you understand. Let me quickly do it, then I'll show you. Maybe you understand better then. Okay, so I've done it. So see, this is what I was explaining. So you see, this remaining part will now be what will tie. This one will now be tied like this. So see it. So this is what I've been explaining. So the sleeve, I've done both sleeve now, so I'm going to fix it. I'm just going to fix it to the blouse. Then we'll now shape the front. You know, this blouse, the front is higher than the back. That's the front is shorter than the back. So let me fix the sleeve then. Okay guys, our blouse is ready. Okay, one more thing, we need to cut the front. So this is what we are going to do. We'll fix our sleeve. You can see it is looking very pretty. So let's turn it to the other side. So for us to cut it, you turn to the other side, then you bring the front, you fold it like this. You see the way I'm folding it? Let's do it like this so that you see it. So this is back, this is front. So put the sides together. You see it? This is the side seam. Put the side seam together like this. This is the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim it. I can go up by, let's say, 3 inches. Let's make the front shorter with 3 inches. So I'll mark 3 inches. Then I'll just trim it. to just enter the back. You see it? That's pretty much it. You just cut it out. By the time we put them together, you see that the front is shorter. Let's make it more shorter, still looking almost equal. So let's still go up again by 1 inch. So let's go in again by 1 inch or 1.5, so that all together we have gone up by 4.5 inch. It's fine. So I'll just curve it in. So I'll just cut it. That is it. So I'm just going to weave it. Okay, so now it's very obvious now. I like it now. So that's it. So I'm just going to weave it, then fold it once. I'll weave it, then fold it once, and we are done with the tutorial. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me turn it to the right side. Okay, I'll show you on the mannequin. When I fold it, then I'll show you on the mannequin. Thanks for watching, guys.